Exposed at the gala, rich husband's shocking betrayal leads to pregnant wife's incredible transformation. Clara Johnson felt the world shift beneath her as she stood at the center of the gala, adorned with shimmering chandeliers and glittering jewels. Each face, polished and privileged, beamed with purpose, but she was an outsider in her own marriage. The anticipation that had fueled her preparations for months turned to lead as she spotted Ryan, her husband, leaning in close to another woman. Their laughter echoed across the marble room, ringing in Clara's ears like a mocking celebration. A pit formed in her stomach. The warmth of the moment dimmed, replaced by an icy tendril of betrayal wrapping around her heart. She shifted on her feet, feeling the weight of her burgeoning belly. What had once been a source of joy now felt like an anchor pulling her deeper into despair. The American dream she believed so fiercely in crumbled before her, revealing the chasm her husband's lifestyle had created between them. Clara breathed unevenly. Was her love for Ryan strong enough to bridge the divide? Or was the dream of becoming a doctor flickering like the chandeliers above her? Noticing her trembling hands, she stepped away to collect her thoughts, the jubilant atmosphere around her feeling more like a suffocating shroud. Fingers trembling, she sought refuge in a quiet corner of the bustling venue, trying to push away the whispers that gnawed at her resolve. Pushing through a haze of betrayal and humiliation, she understood the dilemma that lay before her. Each question spiraled in her mind: should she confront him and shatter the surface of their glossy life together? Or should she turn away, letting the glittering facade remain intact? Each choice weighed heavy with the knowledge of loss and potential reclamation. She didn't want to be another trophy wife. She wanted to bloom into a doctor, a healer, a woman who carved her identity not on the prestige of another but on her own merit. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night stretched on, Clara felt the whispers of scandal ripple through the pack of elite guests. The narrative unfolding around her grew sinister, exposing vulnerabilities she loathed to recognize. Every glance of pity, every hushed conversation regarding love and commitment cut deeper than a scalpel. Ryan's attempts to deflect attention away from his indiscretions only steeled her determination. Clara was done being swept aside. The hidden pot of passion she harbored for academic success simmered fiercely within, almost desperate to escape the shadows Ryan cast over her. An idea burned brightly as she envisioned a research project. It could launch her toward the ambitious path she craved, a life defined not by Ryan's residual glow, but by her relentless pursuit of purpose. But just as hope flared, a familiar face appeared across the room, a face that now mirrored her agony. Clara felt trapped, the anticipation fraying at her nerves, the threat of holding the truth drowning her. She was left standing on the edge of an emotional precipice, each moment stretching into eternity. The choice was unraveling before her, and from behind the glamour, an undeniable truth loomed larger than the gala itself. Would bravery win over despair? As the clock ticked and the gala whispered its secrets, the resolve to confront the man who shattered her fairy tale tightened around her heart. Clara was ready to face the darkness that had begun to consume her, ready to redefine her future amidst the silence of betrayal. Would she emerge as the victor in her own story, or would the shadows swathe her in doubt and anger? The stakes soared as she prepared to confront the man who had tied her fate into knots, and the answers within her heart were waiting to ignite. Clara took a deep breath, steadied herself, and stepped away from the shadows of anonymity that had haunted her throughout the evening. The extravagant symphony of the changing gala faded into a blur as she walked, each purposeful step underscoring the determination that now surged within her. The decision was made: she would confront Ryan. No longer would she cower beneath the weight of his betrayal. As she moved through the throng of elegantly dressed guests, a tempest of emotions raged internally. Anger battled with fear, and uncertainty wrestled with a firm resolve. Clara's eyes remained fixed on Ryan, the anchor of her tumultuous dreams now painfully out of reach. Her heart hammered loudly against her chest, a reminder of her own vulnerabilities but also of the life growing within her. This child, this new beginning, needed a mother who was not afraid to stand tall. Calmness washed over her like a breeze, and with it came clarity. Thoughts of her dream to become a doctor, the passion for knowledge she could harness, flared prominently. Conversations she'd had in medical school rushed back, the fierce debates about ethics, the deep discussions on the importance of integrity in patient care. She was no stranger to confrontation, it was an inherent part of her calling. Now, it was time to confront the betrayal that threatened to erode all that she had built. Crossing the distance, Clara arrived near Ryan, who still shared laughter with the enchanting woman by his side. The sight was as striking as the gilded chandeliers overhead, both beautiful and painfully discordant. Instinctively, Clara's fingers grazed her belly, summoning both tenderness and strength from the life within her. "Ryan," she spoke, her voice steady, slicing through the air like a beam of truth. His laughter faltered as he turned, the jovial facade dissolving into confusion. Clara welcomed the momentary flicker of panic in his eyes. She would not entertain silence. Silence had become a cruel game of pretenses. "Clara," he said, his voice laced with the artificial cheerfulness he used to mask his guilt. Ignoring the audience that had quickly gathered, Clara locked her gaze on him, a steadying blend of rage and clarity amplifying her body's electricity. "We need to talk. Now." The room hushed, the weight of the moment palpable as curious ears turned toward them. No longer did Clara feel the chill of isolation, this was her stake, and it was time for clarity. Each breath was deliberately drawn, preparing her for the plunge into confrontation. For once, she wielded the power of truth. "Do you think I didn't notice?" she continued, her voice laced with controlled elegance and fervor, revealing the depth of her heartbreak. "Do you think I would remain a silent spectator while you play at love?" The silence that followed Ryan's body language spoke volumes. He shifted uncomfortably, the mask of indifference peeling away to reveal the guilt beneath. Clara sensed the eyes of her onlookers prodding into her vulnerabilities, yet she focused past them, the heat of anger coursing through her like adrenaline. This moment could define her path. With every syllable, she built her resolve. She wasn't just confronting Ryan, she was confronting herself, allowing the embers of ambition to glow brighter in the face of betrayal. She would emerge as stronger, not merely the victim she feared she would become. As the tension in the room thickened, Clara took one last steadying breath. "This is not just about you, Ryan. It's about our future, the future I want to fight for. It's time for you to decide which reality you wish to live in, one tainted by deceit or one forged through honesty." Her heart raced, not with fear of what came next, but with the exhilaration of defining her own destiny. The moment was poised, a turning point bridged by words that carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken hopes. Would Ryan rise to affirm their future together, or would he shatter the fragile remnants of loyalty? Clara stood on the precipice of uncertainty, feeling the grip of a transformative moment encircle her. In that split second, she understood, it was about more than redefining her relationship. It was about reclaiming herself and the direction of her own life, desperately yearning to grasp the opportunity to blossom amid the storm. With the world still waiting and holding its breath, Clara faced Ryan, steeling herself for whatever truth he would reveal next. Clara's heart thundered as she awaited Ryan's response. The room seemed to shrink around them, smothering her with anxious anticipation. He could feel her immeasurable hurt, but would he recognize the depth of her strength? It was a moment divinely poised for clarity and conviction, but the uncertainty loomed like a storm cloud. Ryan stared back, his expression a chaotic blend of shock and dismay. His mouth opened as if he would say something profound, but only silence hung in the air. It was an invitation for him to step into the light or retreat into the shadows. "Clara, I can explain," he finally stammered, the bravado stripped away, revealing a boyish vulnerability that was as familiar as it was painful. "Explain?" she challenged, hardly recognizing her own voice. "You think that's enough? You owe me more than a careless excuse, Ryan. Your choices affect more than just you, there's a life at stake here." Each word, carefully chosen, Cut through the remnants of their past, she was not only addressing him, she was declaring war on the remnants of her own self-doubt. A flicker of remorse passed through his eyes, but Clara was in no mood for half-hearted gestures. She was drained, yet empowered. She stood firm, channeling every ounce of disappointment into clarity about what she wanted moving forward. "Do you love her?" The question lingered, echoing with an intensity that rattled through the crowd surrounding them. It was not just a question about infidelity, it was a direct challenge to the life they had envisioned, a dream that seemed brighter and more tangible just a few moments ago. Ryan faltered, his eyes shifting away. Rather than dwelling on his evasiveness, Clara seized the opportunity to reframe the narrative. "I thought we had a life together, a shared future. But I see now how many shadows from your past still haunt us. Do you even realize what you jeopardize?" Anxiety mounted within her, yet beneath it thrummed an undercurrent of determination. This confrontation was more than a confrontation, it was her moment of reinvention. No longer swallowed whole by the wedding planning, the fairy tale endings, or even the expectations placed upon her as a mother. Clara felt lightheaded yet liberated, a feeling she hadn't allowed herself for too long. The guests around them offered gasps of shock, absorbed in the unfolding drama. Clara took a risk, she chose to embody the courage she once thought reserved for others, and with it came the clarity she had long sought. "Walk away, Ryan," she continued, her voice unwavering. "If you are still willing to indulge in your selfishness, then you can go. I deserve better than someone who cannot face their own truth." This clarity unraveled the tight knots of past fears binding her to him. It struck her that this was an opportunity to redefine her identity, not just as Ryan's wife or the expectant mother shadowed by his decisions, but as Clara, a woman with dreams of her own. Her foray into medicine was more than a career path, it was a passion that built resilience in her bones, a goal that thrived despite storms of hurt. As anticipation thickened, Ryan seemed to recognize the stark ultimatum she set before him. Was he prepared to accept a future of honesty, or would he allow the predictability of his past to keep him captive? Clara's mind raced, thoughts flickering like wildfire. What if he chose the other woman? Every moment spent beside him flared with sadness, yet also with unprecedented resolve. She envisioned choosing her own happiness, her own path, independent of his influence. "I can only be who I am," she said to herself internally. "And I am not defined by his choices." With that spark ignited, she felt a wave of potential rush through her. "Choose wisely," she added softly, a blend of vulnerability and strength coating the words. "I won't wait for you to decide upon my worth." The air crackled with possibilities. She had extended not just an ultimatum, but a challenge, both to Ryan and to herself. What would unfold next? A partner eager to embrace a shared destiny, or the end of yet another chapter of deception? As she braced herself for his reply, her heart beat louder than ever, emboldened by the realization that reclaiming her narrative was within reach. However, as she awaited his decision, an unexpected figure loomed at the edge of the crowd, stirring a new form of uncertainty within her. Who else had come to witness this moment, and what secrets might they hold? Clara's breath hitched as she caught sight of the figure emerging from the periphery. Marissa, Ryan's childhood friend, now a confident woman carrying an air of authority that belied her years. Clara's mind swirled with questions while her pulse quickened. What did Marissa want? Was she here to support Ryan, or did she have her own agenda? Caught between the moment and the past, Clara attempted to ground herself. She had just drawn a line in the sand, a line marked by the resilience she had uncovered deep in her heart. The scene shifted in that singular second, the air thick with the unspoken truths cloaked in the silence behind Marissa's enigmatic presence. "Clara," Marissa called out, her tone a mix of concern and expectation. "Can we talk?" Clara felt an odd fortitude rising within her, defiance mixed with curiosity. She had never imagined that a conversation with Marissa could feel like an interrogation. Without letting her expression waver, she replied, "Now. Here. I don't think this is a good time." Marissa stepped closer, her eyes scanning the tension between Clara and Ryan, assessing the landscape of emotions before her. "Trust me, this is important. Just a minute. Ryan remained still, almost frozen, as if waiting for the earth to swallow him. Clara's resolve hardened. She had made her stand, no more shades of dependency. She cast a glance at Ryan, stirring with a mix of anger and vulnerability. The concoction had brewed within her long enough, and she refused to let its poison seep through. "Fine," she said, pivoting her body towards Marissa. "Let us hear it." They moved to the side, leaving Ryan to fester in the space they had vacated. Marissa leaned in close, her voice dipped low enough to carry a weight felt by Clara alone. "I'm not here to take sides. I just thought you should know that Ryan hasn't been completely honest with you or with himself." "Isn't that obvious?" Clara countered, the bitterness weaving into her voice. "He seems to be doing just fine lying to everyone." Marissa nodded but pressed on. "There's something he didn't tell you. He's been seeing someone else, yes, but that's not the full story. It's not just about his choices, it's about yours too. You need to recognize your strength before you lose what you truly want." The words struck Clara like lightning. Would her needs, her dreams, always be overshadowed by Ryan's reckless actions? She had spent too much time orbiting around him, convinced that their futures were intertwined when he was just a weight she thought she could carry. "I refuse to be defined by his mistakes," Clara declared, the fervor of her voice catching Marissa a bit off guard. "I want more than this, than him. This moment is me claiming autonomy over my life." Marissa smiled, a spark of respect in her eyes, albeit mixed with a tinge of concern. "Then listen carefully, the right decision isn't always the easy one. You deserve clarity, and sometimes that comes with a cost. But you have to choose to embrace that power, Clara." Clara's heart raced with her newfound knowledge, but a stark realization clawed its way into her mind. Would she truly abandon the remnants of a life once cherished? The earlier surge of courage flickered, replaced by uncertainty. It was a pivotal moment asking her to face the mirror. Was she ready to look within herself and claim her right to happiness? As they rejoined Ryan, Clara noticed a change, a shift in atmosphere. The guests around them now moved like shadows, oblivious to the gravity of the choices laid bare before her. Ryan's eyes flickered with uncertainty, as if sensing the transformation in her demeanor. It was time. Clara gathered herself, steeling her resolve to navigate the choices ahead. She possessed the ability to shape her own narrative, and the shadows of doubt that had clung to her were about to be cast aside. She took a deep breath, prepared to declare not just her worth, but her intent, to steer her own journey against all odds. "Let us settle this, Ryan," she paused deliberately, locking eyes with Marissa first, then returning her gaze to Ryan. "You owe me an answer, and I deserve the truth for both our sakes." As their eyes locked, the world around them fell away. Clara stood on the precipice of a decision, clear-headed and resolute, the urgency of the moment wrapping around her like a shroud. What would Ryan say to her confident declaration? Time hung heavy as she awaited his response, her heart racing with the thrill of determination and the lurking fear of the unknown, the next chapter of her life teetering on the edge. Would he step forward to claim honesty, or would he retreat into familiar deceptions? As she braced herself, the tension in the air became thicker, a precursor to irreversible change. Was she ready for whatever lay ahead? Clara held her breath, the tension tightening around her like a noose. Ryan's gaze fluctuated, caught between resignation and defiance, as though he were weighing his next move on a fragile scale of vulnerability. Each beat felt like an eternity, her mind racing with the uncharted territories of her feelings and upcoming decisions that loomed larger than ever before. "Clara," Ryan began, his voice cracking slightly, a glimmer of the truth lingering behind his hesitance. Clara felt an instinctual pull of emotion, but she staunchly shielded her heart from the tide. This was her moment. This was her reality. "Don't," she interrupted fiercely, her voice steady yet firm. "You can't just start off with an apology as if that's enough. I deserve more than that. You owe me clarity." The weight of her words hung heavily in the air, a challenge that demanded resolution. Ryan appeared to flinch under her gaze, guilt rippling across his features. What do you want me to say? His shoulders slumped, revealing a vulnerability he rarely showed. I didn't intend for things to go so far. The words stung like acid in a wound. Clara clenched her fists, fighting the urge to crumble before him. You think you can just not intend infidelity? That you can pretend it didn't happen? Who were you thinking of when you made those choices? She could feel the fire igniting within her, fueling her determination. Wasn't she allowed to demand respect for herself and her choices? I was overwhelmed. I thought this was just a phase or something I could wish away, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Then you underestimated me. Underestimated us, Clara replied, her heart pounding fiercely against the walls she had started to construct around it. Marissa stood by, observing with a mixture of concern and something that seemed akin to admiration. The moment had shifted. Clara began to recognize the dynamic at play. The empowerment rising from the depths of her spirit was reclaiming her narrative. Ryan's uncertainty wasn't a place she needed to nurse, but a reflection of her own burgeoning strength. Clara, if I could take it all back, Ryan ventured, desperation etching into his tone. Stop right there, she interjected, cutting through his remorse like a knife. This isn't about your regrets, it's about my life, my choices. I'm tired of being the backdrop of your mistakes. Her voice trembled with the magnitude of her convictions. As her words settled, a silence enveloped them, one filled with animosity and hope intertwined, as if Clara had set a fragile boundary that demanded recognition. The truth of her worth swelled within her, and as clarity illuminated the shadows, the path ahead appeared undeniable. Fear ebbed away, replaced by determination. She realized that this confrontation wasn't just about Ryan. It was a defining moment that would dictate the trajectory of her own life. I've spent too long waiting for you to make decisions for both of us. Her voice gained edge, fueled by her convictions. I will not do that anymore. I'm ready to make my own decisions. This isn't a negotiation. It's time for me to prioritize myself. Ryan's mouth opened and closed as if he were searching for the right words, but Clara wouldn't relent. The past bathed her in familiarity, but the future beckoned her with possibilities she had long ignored. She needed to believe that, within her grasp, lay the power of choice. Whatever you decide, whatever that may involve, I'm prepared for it, she affirmed, emboldened by the expression of her worthiness circling her heart. However, we need to identify what this truly means for us. For every moment I've invested in you, I demand to invest in myself now. The air thickened again, feeling heavier than before, as realities collided. Ryan's eyes drifted away, lost in a storm of regret and confusion, as Clara's heart raced at the enormity of what lay ahead. Their conversation echoed with the weight of revelations and the sharp edges of confrontation. It was both liberating and terrifying to embrace the unknown, yet she felt strangely alive in this uncertainty, a mix of empowerment and uncharted territory. Clara, Ryan began, but she cut him off, fixing him with a look that spoke volumes about her resolve. It's time I stopped hoping you'll change. It's the hope that's been holding me back. With those words, Clara faced the vast landscape of her decision, the threshold of her life on the verge of a fierce transformation. She took a step back, her gaze no longer burdened but rather illuminated with new insight and knowledge of herself that was raw and unveiling. As she prepared to walk away, knowing that she had crossed a threshold into the unknown, her breath steadied. She would discover her next steps on her own terms. And as she left Ryan behind, she heard from the shadows of her resolve, words demanding to be spoken. Would Ryan follow her lead toward honesty, or would he remain lost in his web of deceit? The next chapter awaited, ripe with discoveries about who Clara could become, ready for the challenges she had yet to face. Would stepping into her truth reveal the power she needed to reshape her life, or would it expose the cracks beneath her resolutions? Clara stepped outside, the cool night air striking her sharply, awakening her senses. The dark street was illuminated by the assertive glow of streetlights, creating pools of warmth in a cold world. She inhaled deeply, letting the clarity of the moment wash over her. This was the first time in a long while that she felt truly untethered, set adrift from the weight of someone else's choices. She needed to act, to channel this energy into something meaningful. With newfound resolve, she pulled out her phone and scrolled to the contacts list. Marissa's name stood out, a reminder of the ally she had at her side. Clara pressed the call button, and after one ring, her friend's voice came through, wrapped in concern. "Hey, Clara. Are you okay? I think I finally made a choice." Clara hesitated, the gravity of her words settling over her. "I broke things off with Ryan." "Wow, really? That's huge." Marissa's enthusiasm was palpable, but Clara sensed the underlying empathy. "It felt right," Clara continued, shaking off any lingering doubts. "But it's also terrifying. I don't know what comes next." A moment of silence passed. Then Marissa spoke softly. "You'll figure it out, just like you always do. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for." "Maybe," Clara replied, a flicker of self-doubt creeping in. "I just need to understand more about what I want and who I am without him." It was a revelation, the very heart of her recent journey. It required exploration, embracing vulnerability and the unknown. "Let us meet up. We can brainstorm next steps." "I mean, starting fresh is nothing to underestimate," Marissa suggested, her eagerness brightening Clara's mood. Clara agreed, a tight smile forming on her lips. She needed a plan, a new direction driven by her own choices. As she walked towards her apartment, she reflected on the power of her decision. Each step felt lighter, each moment more hopeful. Once inside, Clara rummaged through her small collection of personal mementos. She unearthed a vision board she had assembled a few years ago. Most of the images faded, but the dreams they represented hadn't diminished. On it were pictures of far-off places, women in business attire standing proud, and quotes about empowerment. It was the spark she needed. Revisiting those goals reminded her of what had once made her feel alive: the desire to start her own business, to travel, to connect with others in authentic ways. The memories unraveled something deep within her, an understanding that her identity had not entirely been subsumed by her relationship. She dared to dream anew, envisioning her life unfolding in fresh colors, beyond the limitations she had accepted. The idea took root: she could pursue personal growth while simultaneously exploring professional empowerment. Each avenue could feed the other, completing the vision of herself she wished to realize. Excitement bubbled within her, pushing her toward action. Clara picked up her laptop, deciding to research various entrepreneurship courses. She knew education and experience needed to converge for her ambitions to take flight. There were resources available, a community of mentors ready to guide her. As she clicked through different programs, determination surged. With each course description she read, her confidence swelled. She wasn't just breaking away from Ryan, she was building herself anew. Just then, a notification pinged. Ryan had sent her a text. Her heart pounded with an odd mixture of anger and trepidation. Did she want to engage with him, even if just for closure? She held her breath and opened the message. He had sent her a simple apology, disposing of all that had transpired as if it were easily discarded, just like the years they had spent together. Clara's fingers hovered over the keyboard as thoughts raced through her mind. What did she want to say? Was she ready for further interaction, or was this the moment to reinforce her boundary? The urgency of self-protection battled with the itch of unresolved feelings, coiling tighter, demanding resolution. Each thought twisted into a question. Is responding a sign of weakness or a display of strength? Tomorrow she would decide how to respond, but tonight she resolved to pour herself into her dreams. Clara closed the laptop and allowed the prospect of a new future to envelop her, solidifying her path forward. As she settled into bed, the weight of promise settled around her. Tomorrow would bring clarity, and perhaps, for the first time, she would truly execute her will without hesitation. Champions are forged between doubt and resolve, and Clara was ready to face whatever awaited her. What fresh challenges lay ahead in this newfound independence? How would she define her worth and navigate this brave new world? Clara woke the next morning to muted sunlight filtering through her curtains, a gentle reminder of the day's potential. Forcing herself out of the cocoon of blankets that felt so welcoming, she inhaled, revitalized by the crisp air dancing across her skin. Rejuvenated, she sat on the edge of her bed, mentally planning how to embrace the day ahead. The tight knot of apprehension from the previous night lingered, but she resolved to turn that energy into something productive. Today was about momentum, a catalyst for change. She grabbed her laptop and perched at the small kitchen table, ready to dive into research. As she tapped away, she felt a flurry of emotions pulsing through her veins, each key pressed igniting a flicker of possibility. Courses glowed on her screen, ranging from foundational business principles to intricate marketing strategies. Clara's eyes landed on one that promised to empower aspiring entrepreneurs through practical applications. It felt tailored to her. An exhilarating rush shot through her as she imagined her confidence swelling, each lesson a stepping stone toward her dreams. But as excitement grew, so did a shadow of doubt. Could she really manage a business? How would she balance this with her needs and aspirations? The nagging voice of uncertainty whispered, taunting her with reminders of past failures, but she swallowed hard. Recognizing those doubts was the first step in asserting control. She faced worse, and she had just stepped away from a stagnant relationship. Her pulse quickened at the realization, she was stronger than her doubts. This truth became her anchor. After hours of research, Clara made a decision: she would enroll in the course. But before she hit the register button, she paused. Would she be fully committed, or was this just another escape, an unwillingness to confront the lingering threads of her old life? Clara's mind raced as she debated the merits. While it was a leap into the unknown, it also represented a bold first step into her reclaiming her identity. With a deep breath, she clicked register. The rush of consequence flowed through her as she felt her fears momentarily overshadowed by a budding fortitude. She was beginning to carve her own path, and excitement bubbled up inside her. The course would not only teach her the mechanics of business but also allow her to forge connections with like-minded individuals intent on success. A notification on her phone broke her train of thought. Marissa had texted, keenly aware they'd be meeting later to strategize her next steps. Clara responded, her fingers flying across the screen, suggesting a coffee shop downtown. Engaging with her friend would reinforce both her independence and support system, a vital aspect of her evolving journey. As she prepared to leave her apartment, Clara reconsidered Ryan's message from the night before. It still loomed like a specter, twisting the edges of her newfound resolve. Would she respond? Part of her craved closure, yet another part already longed to keep him firmly in the rearview mirror. The coffee shop buzzed with early morning chatter as Clara found a table. She took a moment to settle in, allowing the aroma of brewing coffee to ignite her anticipation. Marissa soon joined her, a vibrant force of energy that reflected Clara's ambitions back at her. "What's on your mind, Clara?" Marissa asked, already assessing her friend's demeanor with a knowing glance. Clara hesitated, the urge to confide battling against self-preservation. "I signed up for that entrepreneurship course," she confessed, words tumbling out in a mix of excitement and vulnerability. "That's amazing." Marissa's enthusiasm was palpable, but her brows knitted together in concern. "What about Ryan? Have you talked to him since?" Clara flinched at the mention of his name, the flicker of doubt re-emerging. Could she truly move forward if he lingered in her thoughts? The conversation unfolded as Clara oscillated between discussing her ambition and grappling with her emotional ties to Ryan. She wanted to claim ownership of her new reality, yet pieces of her past tethered her, each binding thread a reminder of insecurities. As words spilled between them, Clara felt the weight of clarity drawing nearer. Every thought about her course and future aspirations was leading her closer to understanding her worth both personally and professionally. As they wrapped up their discussion, Marissa leaned in, eyes sparkling with anticipation. "So, what's next? Are you going to message him back or just let it be?" Clara's heart raced, a compelling decision laced with vulnerability hung over her. She had to face not only her desire for closure but the lingering uncertainties her independence cultivated. Would she step forward or retreat back into the comfort of explanations? The moment lingered, and she knew that whatever her choice, it would mark another chapter in her evolution, with the weight of her impending choice heavy on her shoulders, Clara conceived the stark truth: it was not only a decision about Ryan, but also about her, her future, and how she would define herself in a world she was just beginning to navigate. Would she seize this moment, or let fear tether her once again? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows in Clara's apartment as she stared at her phone screen, deliberating over the unopened message from Ryan. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her. How could she move forward with such uncertainty hovering overhead? The new course beckoned, promising growth and opportunities, yet she found herself tethered to the past, unwilling to cut the ties that connected her to him. Finally, with a resolve that felt shaky yet determined, she opened the message. Keyed-up anxiety filled her as she read his words, a mixture of longing and uncertainty. It was a simple text, but its impact reverberated through her mind. "Can we talk?" Clara felt a surge of conflicting emotions as she processed what he wanted. Talk could mean closure, but it might also pull her back into the ambiguity she was desperate to escape. Through the haze of indecision, one truth became evident: engaging with Ryan could either derail her progress or illuminate her path forward. The stakes felt impossibly high. After a moment's pause, she typed a quick response. "I'm busy right now, but maybe later." Sending it felt like a championship victory, even as her heart raced. She had established boundaries. Rather than orchestrating his narrative, she was taking charge of her own. Marissa's laughter brought her back to the coffee shop as she recollected their conversation. Her friend's excitement infused energy into the room, reinforcing Clara's determination to forge ahead with her entrepreneurship course. As the laughter echoed, Clara recognized a pivotal moment. She was surrounded by people who believed in her potential, and that alone was revitalizing. The following week zapped by in a flurry of lectures and brainstorming sessions filled with spirited discussions. Each class pushed Clara to think increasingly beyond her comfort zone, testing her capacity to tackle real-world business problems. Peer collaborations fueled her drive, unlike anything she had previously experienced. She absorbed ideas from her classmates, absorbing their varied perspectives like a sponge. However, deep inside her, the specter of Ryan began to gnaw once more. He had yet to receive a proper response to her message, and the unacknowledged silence felt deafening. Clara attempted to dismiss the feelings of guilt and nostalgia, subtly intertwining her past with the potential of her future. It was evident that confronting the unresolved remnants of their relationship was essential if she were to root her newfound independence in solid ground. Determined to take action, she decided that closure was non-negotiable. Clara planned to meet Ryan that weekend, but not without establishing her own terms. This time, she would not be sidelined by his narrative. She would advocate for her understanding of what closure meant, acknowledging their past without letting it reinstate its hold over her present. In the days leading up to the meeting, Clara's focus sharpened. She poured herself into her coursework, spending evenings crafting business models and refining her pitch. Each concept she learned felt like a brick, fortifying the structure of her aspirations. With every newfound skill, layers of doubt peeled away, revealing a clearer vision of her future. Clara was evolving not only as an aspiring entrepreneur but also as a confident, assertive individual. Still, lingering uncertainty nagged at her. What if Ryan's presence attempted to strangle her momentum? Was she merely setting herself up for failure by allowing him back into her life, even briefly? The evening before the meeting arrived, and Clara developed her strategy. She would enter the conversation with clear intentions, to dissolve any remnants of conflict while affirming her commitment to her own development. Each breath she took fortified her resolve, solidifying the conviction that she was not the same person she had been. As Clara drifted into sleep, she experienced a rush of exhilaration and anxiety, knowing the moment of truth awaited her. Would she find closure, or would she discover that some ties refuse to be severed, even when the heart yearns for them to be? All she knew was that the dawn of tomorrow would beckon her toward yet another defining moment, a chance to confront both her past and the burgeoning future that glimmered on the horizon. Would she emerge empowered, or would fear once more cloud her vision? The answer lay just ahead, waiting to unfold. Clara awoke to the soft light of dawn filtering through her curtains, a new day heralding a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. Today was the day she had circled on her calendar, the moment she would confront Ryan. The night had provided little rest as her mind whirled with potential scenarios, each one more nerve-wracking than the last. However, this morning, resolve swelled within her, urging her to approach the encounter with both clarity and courage. Dressed in a simple yet confident outfit, Clara stood before her mirror, rehearsing her key points, a mental checklist of the affirmations and boundaries she intended to uphold. Each word felt like armor against the vulnerability that had often accompanied her interactions with Ryan. The old Clara, whose decisions were too often influenced by Ryan's emotional pull, seemed like a distant memory. She half smiled at the thought. She was a different person now, one who knew her worth. Arriving at the cafe where they had agreed to meet, Clara's heart pounded as she scanned the tables. What would it feel like to see him again? Would it evoke regret or relief, or perhaps a mingling of both? These questions murkied her thoughts as she settled into a corner table, facing the door, ready for whatever awaited her. Moments later, Ryan entered, his presence striking a chord deep within her. He looked older, perhaps more burdened than she remembered, but as she leveled her gaze, it became clear that this encounter had the potential to define not only their past but her future. He approached, his expression a blend of apprehension and hope. Clara took a deep breath, grounding herself in her purpose. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice laced with an earnestness that caught her slightly off guard. "I knew I needed to," Clara replied, steadying her voice despite the nerves that threatened to bubble over. They exchanged pleasantries, but Clara sought to cut through the small talk quickly. "I think we should address what has been left unsaid. I need closure." He looked at her, the depth of his eyes making her pulse quicken. "I agree. I've wanted to talk for a while. I miss you, Clara." That simple admission hit her like a physical force, igniting questions that surged, threatening the resolve she had built. But she swiftly reminded herself of her intentions. "Ryan, this isn't about us getting back together. I need you to understand that." "I didn't think you wanted that," he conceded, his voice softening. Clara pressed forward. "What I want is to acknowledge our experiences together, to honor them. But I can't move forward if I'm still tied to the past." As she articulated her thoughts, a newfound strength coursed through her. Clara was not just speaking to Ryan but to the remnants of her own insecurities. Releasing that burden made space for new possibilities. "You're right. We've each changed," he replied. "I've been working through my own realizations. I'm not the same guy you knew." The conversation shifted, diving into the complexities of their shared history and the growth they had each experienced. Clara had anticipated a struggle, yet as they spoke candidly, she felt the tension begin to dissolve. This was not a battlefield, it was a place of understanding, a bridge to her freedom. Each word exchanged became a stepping stone, guiding her toward a clearer image of her aspirations. She felt buoyed as she shared her plans for her business, her dreams taking root in the supportive atmosphere Ryan had never quite supplied. This encounter had morphed from a confrontation into a celebration of growth, a partnership in their separate journeys, but still, uncertainty loomed over the conversation. Ryan's lingering emotions reflected in his gaze hinted at unresolved feelings. Clara sensed that finding total closure was still a work in progress, a step toward finality that she might not fully achieve today. As they parted ways, Clara took a deep breath, a mix of relief and excitement washing over her. Despite the outcome of their conversation, she felt an indelible sense of purpose, empowered by her ability to confront her past and navigate toward her aspirations. This was the beginning of her new chapter, a venture toward not just professional development but personal evolution. Yet even as she stepped away from the cafe, an unsettling thought took root: would this newfound confidence withstand the tests of her evolving ambitions? Or would the shadows of her past re-emerge at the most inopportune moments? The road ahead was still unclear, but Clara welcomed the challenge. In that moment of reflection, she realized that her true test was just beginning. Little did she know the encounters and challenges that awaited her, testing her resolve and illuminating hidden depths within herself. The future promised revelation and perhaps even transformation. Clara Johnson stepped into her new reality, where the reflections of strife and growth swirled around her in a tapestry of determination. After her powerful closure with Ryan, she was resolutely focused on nurturing her entrepreneurial aspirations. The past faded into a mere whisper, overshadowed by the clarity and ambition she now embraced. In the weeks that followed, Clara immersed herself in her entrepreneurship course. Each new concept, each dynamic discussion about business strategies, ignited a profound sense of purpose within her. She began crafting her business plan, a blueprint for a consulting firm dedicated to empowering aspiring physicians, incorporating her experiences and insights. Every module she completed felt like another rung on the ladder to success, each assignment an opportunity to validate her worth and capabilities. The nights spent poring over her laptop were no longer driven by anxiety but by the exhilarating rhythm of ambition. Clara felt a solid confidence blossoming within her. Her previous doubts transformed into fuel for growth. She no longer sought validation from an external source, but rather acknowledged her competence. Adversity had stirred her vision. Now, she was ready to conquer any obstacles. Validation came in the form of a competition hosted by her program, where students had the chance to present their business plans to a panel of seasoned entrepreneurs. Clara felt the familiar storm of nerves flutter within her constructively instead of paralyzingly. She had anticipated this moment, the rustling papers, the buzzing anticipation, the lingering glances of judgment. This was her stage, and she was prepared to showcase the vision she had meticulously crafted. When her turn arrived, Clara stepped confidently to the front, her voice steady and her message clear. As she articulated her business model, passion radiated from her every word. Her vision, intertwining empathy, education, and empowerment, resonated deeply with the audience, culminating in enthusiastic applause. Clara's heart swelled not only from their reaction but from her profound internal change. She had proved to herself that vulnerability could birth strength. As she left the stage, she was met with words of praise from the panel, each commendation solidifying her newfound belief in herself. Clara felt an identity reshaped. No longer was she just a woman shaped by her husband's decisions. She was now a woman who forged her own path. Days turned into weeks, and the competition brought with it not just acclaim but connections. Clara found herself surrounded by budding entrepreneurs who shared her fervor, each interaction sparking new ideas and collaborative opportunities. She realized that her dreams were nurtured not in isolation but through the very community she had once feared would cage her. Networking events became places of growth, explorations of innovation where Clara highlighted her concept, feeling the solid ground beneath her feet each time. Encouragingly, the competition culminated with Clara winning first place, a testament to her hard work and resilience. The award symbolized more than just recognition, it was a pivotal point of personal achievement that underscored her transformation. When Clara stood on that stage, a trophy cradled in her hands and applause ringing around her, she knew this achievement represented not the conclusion but the beginning of her journey. It embodied the rebirth she craved, marking her emergence from the shadows of her past into a world bursting with potential. This victory fueled her next steps, inspiring her to pursue mentorship opportunities and ultimately opening her consulting firm. No longer would she languish in someone else's narrative. Instead, she was a force to be reckoned with, creating ripples of change within the world of medicine. Months into her thriving venture, Clara found herself reflecting on her journey. The scars of past betrayals had transformed into badges of honor, reminders of resilience rather than sources of shame. She was a mother, an entrepreneur, a healer. Her identity was multifaceted and vibrant. With her life's work unfolding in front of her, Clara had not only achieved her personal goals but had become a beacon of inspiration for those around her. The story of her evolution rippled outwards, igniting hope in others who felt trapped in their circumstances. Clara Johnson was no longer defined by her past, she was the architect of her future, empowered and unafraid to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Now, if you've been moved by this incredible transformation and want to be a part of more inspiring stories like Clara's, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for heartfelt narratives that celebrate resilience and growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more souls yearning for motivation. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting conclusion. Comment your thoughts, reactions, and theories below. We want to hear from you.